Pension or peanuts? Well, the big story that we're debating here on the network now. The government may be tom-tomming about the pension package announced for the ex-servicemen, but Headlines today has learned that the government's bonanza for retired Jawans is nothing but an eyewash. Sources have told Headlines today that there is a lot of resentment in all three wings of the armed forces over the government's pension package. It's believed that the delay in implementing this pension package is because of the possible outcry of this so-called bonanza.
The question is very simple. How did the cabinet come to a figure of 2,300 crores? They must have done some calculations, they must have been told something. So if those calculations were done, then why a delay of almost 3 months before the orders are actually issued? So obviously it is something where their calculations have been wrong, and therefore now they are finding it difficult to announce the bonanza as claimed.
You talk about the opinion coming across from Defence Minister A.K. Antony. He's assured that the order of the revised pension will be issued next month. And talking to reporters on the sidelines of the Vijay Diwas function at India Gate, Antony said that there are some procedural formalities which need to be completed before issuing the order.
As per the decision to enhance the pension costing nearly 2,300 crores, 5 orders will be issued. These are in the process. Out of that, 3 issues are cleared by the finance minister. Other also within a few days or a few weeks it will be cleared. So we will issue all the 5 orders. I think next month we will be able to. The new year will be.
The big question though, the government's eyewash bonanza for ex-servicemen, well, what about that? Is this pension tokenism enough for our officers, our Jawans? Secondly, does a few rupees extra seem adequate to the government? And thirdly, do our braves not have the right to dignity in their old age once they finish with their careers? Can't the nation even guarantee a comfortable life after retirement to its soldiers? To get some perspective on this very big question on what really this joke has become as far as the government is concerned, Lieutenant General retired Raj Kadian, former Deputy Chief of the Army Staff, of course, also Chairman of the Indian ex-servicemen movement. Now, let's try and put this in perspective first. Before I get to my analysts, I want to go across to Nida Khan to break down what this 2,300 crore bonanza actually means. What does this actually translate to when you talk about the hike, the implementation, when that comes on? In fact, we'll get to Nida in just a moment. General Raj Kadian, what do you make of this current situation? I mean, not the fact, when translated into when you break it down to these actual hikes, when you talk about, Jawans across the section, what does this really mean? Have the core issues been addressed?
First, let me say, why is a soldier placed in a unique position in our country? It is only the soldiers out of all the central government employees who are sent home earlier than the age of superannuation, which is 60 years for everybody else. Soldiers, 85% of them are sent home compulsorily between the age of 35 and 40. There is no compensation whatever of the mental trauma that he suffers at having been thrown out of a job in the prime of his life. The one rank one pension is a very small compensation that we are seeking, that the mental trauma you can't do anything, but at least financially allow him to lead a very comfortable and dignified life. This one rank one pension issue addresses that problem to some extent. This has been on for the last 30 years. The government keeps saying we are trying to reduce the gap between phased manners. Let me give you some figures. Before the 2010 increase came, the difference in pension of a pre-2006 and a post-2006 pensioner of the lowest rank was 81%.
Yes.
That brought it down to 42. Today in 2012, it has again gone up to 65%. Now, when you say that's 2,300 crore, when you consider the figure that we have more than 2 million ex-servicemen, nearly 4 lakh widows who are going to be the beneficiary of this, it's not difficult to work out the mathematics that what each man will get.
True.
It is peanuts, as your channel is calling, which is a very cruel joke to call it a bonanza. This is a demand which is 30. The government must come clean. It is, I don't think in today's economy, the way the country's economy is progressing, money is the problem. The problem is priority. The soldiers because they are not able to say anything when they are in uniform, they are just being taken for a ride.
But they've said a lot, General Kadian. I mean, you've got medals being returned, you've got letters being written in blood for the government to try and listen to this current situation. Nidha now joins us. Nidha, just break down what this 2,300 crore bonanza, as it were, means when you actually translate it down to the actual figures, the actual money which will actually go through.
Well, the government might be boasting about this 2,300 crore rupee package that we're talking about, but at the end of the day, as far as ex-servicemen are concerned, well, they're simply calling it a hogwash, a big eyewash. 2,300 crore rupees, it sounds like a big figure, but let's just break it down for you, which is what we're doing right now. If one were to really go by the figures, if you're talking about a sepoy, the hike would actually come to just 377 rupees. On the other hand, just take a look at these figures that Headlines Today is getting you right now. And Havaldar would actually be able to just get a hike, just something that would be running into simple hundreds. At the end of the day, the big question that is being asked by retired army personnel is how does it actually come down to these figures? The government must have thought about these figures, but what actually has gone wrong? As far as ex-servicemen are concerned, there's a lot of resentment coming in with these figures that the government has put out. The government on its part coming out and boasting, tom-tomming really as it were, about this big pay package. But at the end of the day, when you take a look at these figures on Headlines Today that we're getting you right now, it just tantamounts to peanuts and nothing else. Well, that's the big question then. Is this how the government, the country comes out and pays men who served it for so very long?
Right, thanks Nidha. Thanks very much for joining us, bringing to us a sense of what this 2,300 crore rupees, when you break it down, actually means. Joining us also now is Flight Officer Ravindra Pathak. He joins us from Mumbai. Headlines Today's Jugal Purohit also joining us for a sense of these numbers. Jugal, I want to come to you first up. When you look at that comment coming across, well, from, AK Antony as well, saying that there's been some procedural delays. I mean, we are talking about fundamental problems with this current structure as well. This 2,300 crore rupees when translated will mean nothing. But even sitting on that, it shows the inaction, the government's fear that if it were to be rolled out, there is going to be a total backlash.
Well, let me just tell you this, that as far as this particular announcement was concerned, it was made on the 24th of September this year, and with that the government said that it hoped to largely meet all the demands that the ex-serviceman community has been raising for a long time now. Essentially, on hand, there are two issues, one pertaining to the anomalies which actually rose from the 6th Pay Commission's implementation and the one rank, one pension issue. Now, on both these fronts, the government's sincerity and actions have not evoked any confidence whatsoever in the past, and now we come and scrutinize this particular issue which arose with the government's announcement on 24th of September. To begin with, the government has taken nearly 3 months and yet they have not issued an order. Now, people who are in the know about these subjects in the Ministry of Defence, to whom we've been speaking to, say that that is not the norm. Whenever an announcement is made, it is generally followed up by a government order, without which rather there is no implementation, and such an order generally comes within a week, 10 or 15 days, doesn't take nearly 3 months. And the second part, which is the most important out here, is that what essentially does the 2,300 crore really mean? And these working sheets that we have accessed from the Ministry of Defence actually go on to say, and perhaps also explain why the government is dithering in actually releasing an order specifying all of these. Remember, when they issued the 2,300 crore figure, they did not give you the nuts and bolts, but here we have the nuts and bolts, and they go to say that for officers, the increase in pension will largely be to around 4,000 rupees per month, but for the people, the other ranks, who are the people who need the money the most, the hike will not even mean more than 500 rupees per month. So that is the real issue out here.
But when you say, 4,000 rupees, that's sort of major. When you talk about a sepoy, it's 377 rupees for a hike. Naik, 412 rupees, 461 rupees for a Havaldar. Can this actually go through? It's absolutely bizarre. Let's get Flight Officer retired Rustam Patel also now with us from Mumbai. Sir, your thoughts? What do you make of the situation? Mr. Patel, if you can hear me, what do you make of the situation, sir? This hike which is proposed by the government, when you break it down, it translates to nothing, sir.
As a matter of fact, the government has always been talking only about the ranks above captain, and then further up to maybe captain, brigadier or general, etc. But nobody has ever thought of a case like that of mine, that I retired as a flying officer, having been injured in the war, wounded in the war. Well, I didn't opt for it, but now as in my case,
I have to keep on representing my financial condition to be changed, or my pension to be revised, for which it takes months on end without any what you call remuneration. And only thing then when they start talking for captain and above. So I'm quite dumbfounded. As a matter of fact, I have always got the minimum of pension. When I retired, I was given only 522 rupees per month was my pension. That is practically peanut for an officer who was injured in the war. And then the revision taking its good old time. It's only now, after about 38 or 40 years after which I have got my revision of pay. So it's definitely very hurting, and this is my case that I have got an opportunity to voice about it. There may be so many more of my kinds in Army, Navy and Air Force who cannot make any representation, and they have to take the things lying down. It is very unfortunate. As a matter of fact, if I'm given opportunity to speak something which can be of use even at a later date. I was injured in war when I was having 4 years of service. I was a young flying officer, and my aim was to fight for my country, make sure that my country becomes victorious, and then I never thought about my life or my people back at home. But after the air crash, when I survived the air crash, the other people were killed. I find that I had to go around writing letters to all people to represent my case. In fact, I was due for my flight lieutenant's rank. I had cleared my promotion test. I had met with the required number of years of service, but only because I was medically down, my medical category had been lost due to the war injury, I was denied my promotion to the rank of flight lieutenant.
And this is just one case. This is Mr. Rustam Patel pointing out, this is just one case. There's so many other voices which are never heard, which can never express just what they're suffering. But let's actually also get to some breaking news that we're getting at this point. Sources telling headlines that the government is very worried about the fallout. The government is very concerned about the actual value of benefits to create, which will in fact create an expected outcry. Certainly when you translate this huge number, when it appears massive, the bonanza as the government puts it, 2,300 crore rupees, when actually translated what it really means. Jugal also now is with us. Jugal, go ahead, just break down any reactions you're picking up from the government. We understand they're very worried about this boast, what it really means.
That's right. In fact, it was last week that we had actually approached the Ministry of Defence to give us the comment as far as this issue is concerned. We said that we have accessed these documents, these papers which actually go to show that a Jawan doesn't get more than 500 rupees per month as a pension increase. And what is it that the government is boasting about from these very papers and its announcement of September? Let me tell you, the government did not respond to us for the next 3 days. It is only this morning that we managed to evince a reaction from the Defence Minister, who's promised to come out with the order very soon. But what happens essentially to the numbers that we are discussing, and the numbers are where the problem lies. We are aware, owing to discussions with people who are working in the ministry, the sense that one gets is that the ministry is actually worried, because when it really comes out in the open with an order, because in the order they will have to actually give the nuts and bolts which they could get away by not doing as far as the actual announcement was concerned, which was made in the press and the media, is when there will be tremendous backlash towards what the government is trying to tout as a big deal. But clearly it isn't, because 500 rupees per month or 4,000 in case of officers doesn't really amount to much, does it?
General Kadyan, just break this down for us. When you look at the core issues here, the government seems to have even misunderstood what one rank one pension actually means. When you look at the current situation, they just increased it in terms of money, that too nominally. Are you happy with the way they've actually perceived this entire problem? 3 decades it's taken them.
No, not at all happy. If you're happy, then we won't be struggling.
True.
We have made it very clear to the government that despite this 2,300 crore, our struggle will carry on. And it is not that the government does not understand what is one rank, one pension. We have repeatedly told them in writing, verbally, they fully understand. But they keep using confusing terms like modified parity. How can parity be parity if it is modified? It's like saying unequal equality. They can't fool the ex-servicemen like that. See, there are 2 aspects that have come out in the discussion from my colleagues. One is the delay part.
Yes.
If the increase is only 300 odd rupees, then another month's delay is not going to be material. But it is the concept. The government keeps saying that we will in phases close the gap. When are they going to close it? 30 years they have been at it. Will they take another 50 years? It is the carelessness of the government, the lack of sensitivity toward the needs, genuine needs of the ex-servicemen, that is the cause.
But they seem to be oblivious to it, because the Ministry of Defence has in the past said that when you look at, total, sort of one rank, one pay, it will go ahead and cost the exchequer 1,200 to 1,300 crore rupees every year. When you talk about, arrears, they range in 4,000 crore rupees. The government is very aware of the numbers. They're basically trying to deflect.
No, I don't know if these figures, they keep quoting different figures. One parliamentary committee in 2003 quoted a different figure. Koshari committee has quoted a different figure. In TV debates, retired bureaucrats quote a totally different figure. I don't have the figures, nor is it our job to work out what it will cost. The government has the statistics. But no matter what it costs, if the country needs an army of 13 lakhs, which leads to 22 lakh ex-servicemen, the country has to afford it. You cut it down to 2 lakhs, who is stopping them, if they can afford it? But the national security demands. If it is a compulsion of the national security, then the country has to afford it.
I'm going to ask, Raj Qadian about what the way forward is going to be, what he thinks is the solution, because this has gone on for too long. The government making these claims has gone on for too long. Flight Officer Rustom Patel, what do you want to say? This is your chance to tell the government directly. You've suffered for a long time. You talk about your pension as well. No one seems to be listening. This is, been going on. This is your chance, sir, to get your voice be heard.
Well, I would like to tell and be on record to say,
Yes,
that as we have a normal pension cell, there could be also some cell which can look after the problems of war casualties. The people who have lost medical category due to war are suffering because they do not have that requisite required for promotion. And I did not lose my category because of a motorcycle or a scooter accident. I lost my category fighting for my country. And in such case, this should be overlooked, or the requirement of medical category should not be one of the most required essentials.
You cannot overlook this. You absolutely cannot overlook this. How will a youngster wanting to defend this country be motivated? Will he not, be slightly worried? Because the country won't care about me if I were to be injured in a situation. General Qadian, last word to you. How do we move forward, sir?
Well, we will have to continue with the struggle, which is very unfortunate for a country. So many thousands of ex-servicemen returning their gallantry medals to the country. Even now, when the president refused to take the medals personally, which is what we've been pressing on, we are parading the medals around the NCR, Delhi, and the other neighboring towns. I think it's a shame for any country that we've been compelled to do it. We want to continue with the movement in a very disciplined and lawful manner. Therefore, our options get limited. The government should not take advantage of the fact that we are disciplined. I think it's high time they listened to us and gave us one rank pension in full.
Well, these are stern words coming across from Raj Qadian. Certainly the way forward needs to be one of addressing this problem. Lieutenant General Raj Qadian, appreciate you joining us. Also, Flight Officer Rustom Patel, thanks very much for sharing your part of the story. Jugal Purohit also breaking down the situation for us.